What advice would you give young people navigating the current dating landscape in the modern Western world? Man, I'm so happy I'm not meeting my wife today in this world. I have to admit that. I would say get offline. Try to meet people in the world. You know, who was it? Who was it that I saw someone, I forget who it was, told me this story of being outside and looking into a park, and there was like a park bench, and there were two people sitting on the park bench, and they were just these beautiful young people, like really attractive in their prime, and they're just sitting there on the park bench. And he went behind, he was kind of walking, and he walked behind them, and he saw that both of them were on dating apps, you know, scrolling and picking and choosing. And he thought, my goodness, like, oh, lift your head up, like look around you. And so it's difficult because in some ways there's always this weird expectation that, meeting someone in the street or just meeting someone at a store or meeting someone in church, obviously, which I think is the best place to meet someone, that's like impossible. You have to kind of meet online before. And so hopefully we can kind of get out of that. Try to, I think for sure, church and church activities and trying to connect in that way is probably the best way to meet someone. And this is, I've said this before, or maybe even on this Q&A. We have to also live with some kind of imperfections. A lot of guys, because there's so many guys becoming Orthodox, and there are so few ladies becoming Orthodox right now, that a lot of people are saying, well, what do we do? Obviously, there's not enough women, and there's more men. It's a bit of a problem. And I kind of tell people, like, we need to accept, we just need to accept imperfection, in the sense that at some point, young Orthodox men are going to marry Catholic girls or Protestant girls, and it's just going to happen. I hate to say it, and although it's not ideal, this is how the world is. We're not all called to be monks, and so we have to be careful not to be too harsh on that when it happens, because it is going to happen. And also young men to not be too harsh on that question too, and to think, well, I'm just only going to marry this type of person, this type of contacts. I know a lot of guys, that go online and they're kind of fetishizing trad wife, trad culture, and they're saying, well, I'm just going to marry a young virgin. It's like, well, dude, fine, but that's not the world we live in. Like, we live in a broken world, and people are messed up, and people have all kinds of difficulty, especially people that are kind of coming out of the weeds and moving into the church and moving closer. And so if you're not careful, you're gonna. It's fine if you want to stay alone, if you want to end up alone, and you're fine with that, then you can hold that type of standard. But we have to be more. We have to be more open and forgiving and understanding that we're all messed up and we're all broken, and that we have to meet. And when you make your life with someone, that part of that is also going to be working through that mess with them. So yeah. But I understand it's a rough time. It's difficult to find people. So.